Have you ever wondered what would happen if Luffy awakened Joy Boy's Haki and Sabaody? What would Kizaru and the world government do when faced with such overwhelming power? Could Luffy save his crew from being separated? And most importantly, would he finally be able to prevent Ace's tragic death at Marineford? I am Shoyo, and before we dive into this theory, go ahead and smash that like button and subscribe to the channel so you do not miss any alternate storylines. Done? Well, grab a seat, because things are about to get absolutely insane, and the world of One Piece will never be the same. In the beginning, the events at the Sabaody archipelago would play out almost exactly like the original story. Luffy would deliver that legendary punch to the celestial dragon Charlos, Kizaru would land on the island wreaking absolute havoc, and the crew would end up completely cornered by the Pacifista, Sentomaru, and the Admiral of Light. Eventually, Bartholomew Kuma would show up and start making the Straw Hats vanish one by one. But this is exactly where the story changes completely. Pay close attention to this. While watching Zoro, Brook, and Usopp vanish right before his eyes, Luffy is consumed by the same crushing terror as in the canon, the feeling of powerlessness, the fear of losing his family again. All of it builds up in his chest. But this time, instead of just collapsing on the ground, crying in frustration, Luffy's willpower reaches an absolute breaking point. His desire to protect his friends overcomes any physical limit his rubber body had. His brain understands that if he is weak right now, everyone he loves is going to die. And then guys, the entire archipelago just stops. A colossal shockwave, unlike anything the Grand Line has seen in decades, erupts from Luffy's body. Do not get me wrong, he does not get white hair, cartoon powers, or the full Nika transformation here. His body could not handle that yet. What explodes right there is pure Conqueror's Haki, but supercharged with the 800-year-old will of Joy Boy himself. Incredibly dense black lightning bolts rip through the grass and stone. The pressure is so ridiculous, so absolutely absurd, that the sky suddenly turns dark, and the sea around the giant trees violently pulls back. The ripple effect is immediate. Almost all the Marines, bounty hunters, and pirates nearby foam at the mouth and pass out. From a distance, supernovas like Eustace Kid and Trafalgar Law drop to their knees, barely able to breathe under the pressure of that monstrous aura. Scratchman Apu faints on the spot, and Basil Hawkins' cards show a bizarre anomaly, a 0% chance of victory for the Marines. Sentomaru backs away in terror, realizing this is not normal Haki. At Shaki's bar, Rayleigh drops his glass in total shock. The Dark King feels a presence that directly rivals Goldie, Roger in his prime. And Kizaru, for the first time in his life, the Admiral stops his attack, takes his hands out of his pockets, and gets genuinely serious. His sarcastic smirk fades, and he breaks into a cold sweat. Consumed by this devastating aura and driven by pure instinct, Luffy charges. Kizaru tries to use his Yasakani no Magatama, firing hundreds of light beams. But the pressure of Luffy's black Haki acts like an invisible shield, neutralizing the Devil Fruit attacks before they even touch him. Giving the Admiral no time to breathe, Luffy leaps. Using a raw, instinctive, and completely out of control version of Advanced Conqueror's Haki, he lands a dead-on punch on Kizaru. The blow sends the Admiral flying through 3 gigantic mangroves, spitting up blood. That is right. Luffy forces Kizaru to cross his arms and use advanced armament Haki just to keep his bones from being crushed. The Admiral admits to himself right then and there, this kid is no longer a future problem. He is an immediate global threat. Watching this totally broken display of power, Kuma's eyes widen. Through his sensors, he sees the trembling, incomplete silhouette of Nika pulsing around Luffy's aura. The cyborg almost smiles, thinking, so the myth is real, you actually exist. But Kuma is a genius strategist. He knows that with this outburst, the world government is going to send even greater forces, maybe all 3 admirals at once, to wipe Luffy out. So Kuma does not abandon his mission. He goes back to making the rest of the crew disappear, not just to save them, but to hide them. When he finally launches Luffy away, he is not just separating a crew. He knows he is protecting the man who will become the true warrior of liberation and the savior of the world. But how would the world government react to this? What would Imu do? Do not worry, we will get there in a second. Luffy flies through the sky and crash lands on Amazon Lily, completely broken. Using that massive Haki, almost tore his muscles apart and fried his nerves. He stays unconscious for a long time. Boa Hancock, sensing that Residual King's presence in his body, does not just fall in love like in the original story. She primitively recognizes that Luffy carries a will superior to any other living being. With her devotion now even stronger, she helps him break into the great underwater prison. The descent through Impel Down will be way more brutal and much faster this time around. Luffy does not have full control over Joy Boy's Haki, but in moments of pure desperation to get to Ace, the energy leaks out. On level 4, when Magellan tries to corner him with his Venom Demon, Luffy unleashes a pulse of Haki so thick that the shockwave literally sweeps the poisonous gas out of the air. The Warden feels his very soul tremble. hesitating just long enough for Luffy, Jinbei, Crocodile, and Ivankov to plow through like a bulldozer. Crocodile and Jinbei go dead silent witnessing that, realizing they are not following just a reckless kid, but a sleeping monster. And get this, when Blackbeard's crew crosses Luffy's path on level 4, things play out differently. Teach tries to use his Kuruzu, the Black Vortex, to pull Luffy in, but Joy Boy's instinct reacts. A burst of Conqueror's Haki hits Teach point blank. Since the dark fruit makes him feel more pain, Blackbeard coughs up a puddle of blood and falls to his knees, shaking. Teach instantly realizes this kid is way above the level he imagined. Still, the strategic tragedy has to happen. Ivankov notices that Luffy's body is collapsing. He is literally killing himself from the inside out every time he uses this Haki. And just like in the original, Bon Clay stays behind at the gates of justice to secure Luffy's escape. The pain of losing Bon Clay serves as the final trigger to cement Luffy's rage before the war. Meanwhile, thousands of miles away, in Mary Geoise, the empty throne room is in full-blown panic mode. The Gorosei are paralyzed, and Imu feels a real sting. The Haki of their ancient enemy has echoed across the world. Luffy's capture order changes instantly. He is no longer just a rookie pirate. He becomes the government's #1 target. Sengoku gets express orders. Ace's execution must be moved up and used as a trap. They know Luffy is coming, and they plan to focus the Navy's entire military might to obliterate both brothers at once. Luffy arrives too late at level 6 of Impel Down and heads for Marineford. Now, on his way to the battlefield, when the ship falls from the sky into the middle of the frozen bay, the vibe shifts instantly. Sengoku looks at the kid in the middle of the plaza and no longer just sees Garp's grandson. He sees the nightmare of the Void Sentry materializing. Whitebeard, on the deck of the Moby Dick, gives a wide grin, realizing that the indomitable will Roger waited for has finally arrived. He yells to Marco and the commanders, "Protect this kid with your lives. He is the future." Garp turns pale, torn between duty and family, and Mihawk sheathes his sword for a moment, absolutely fascinated by the kid's aura. The battle resumes, and guys, it is a total spectacle. Luffy does not just go around sweeping the Admirals by himself. That would be unrealistic for his broken physique, but he uses his Haki to create insane openings. Vice Admirals get blown away by the air pressure. When Aokiji tries to freeze him, the ice shatters before it even touches Luffy's skin, repelled by the Conqueror's barrier. He pushes forward, bleeding, pushing his body to the absolute limit, backed by Whitebeard's commanders. Eventually, the showdown with Garp happens on the bridge. Garp clenches his fist, but upon feeling the unstoppable determination and the ancient Haki radiating from his grandson, he realizes the era has changed. The old marine hero falters on purpose, letting Luffy slip past and free Ace. The escape begins. Hope starts to shine for the pirates. And then the worst happens. Akainu starts taunting Whitebeard. Ace, blinded by hatred and his adoptive father's honor, stops running and turns to face the Magma Admiral. In the original canon, we all know Ace dies here to protect Luffy, creating the most profound trauma in the series. But this time, the story is rewritten. Fueled by extreme desperation, Luffy's observation Haki temporarily merges with Joy Boy's will. He gets a crystal clear vision of the future for a split second, the searing magma fist piercing straight through his beloved brother's chest. Before Ace can even take a step toward Akainu, Luffy's protective instinct overrides everything. The ghostly, muffled sound of the drums of liberation echoes across the bay, heard only by the absolute strongest warriors. Luffy unleashes the largest, densest, and most crushing wave of black Haki the world has felt since Roger's era. The spiritual pressure is so absurd, so violent, that the hard ice and rock floor of Marineford literally cracks in half, opening a gigantic canyon between Ace and Akainu. The impact is so massive that thousands of Marines in the plaza collapse at the exact same time. Akainu is forced to stop his lethal charge. The density of that Conqueror's Haki is so intense that the magma on his fist seems to solidify for a millisecond. The Red Dog has to cross his arms and use advanced Haki just so he is not slammed face first into the ground by the gravity of Luffy's aura. That mere fraction of a second of hesitation from Akainu is all that needed to happen. Luffy shoves Ace hard out of Akainu's way. He did it for the first time in his life. Against all odds and the gods of the world, he changed fate. But the toll is paid instantly. The colossal aura fades. The drums stop beating. Luffy's body shuts down completely. He bleeds from his eyes, ears, and mouth, falling backward like a lifeless ragdoll. In the original, Luffy went into shock and cried while holding Ace's corpse. Here, we get the most epic and rewarding emotional inversion possible. Ace, shocked and panting, dives and catches his little brother's wrecked body. He has tears in his eyes, but this time, they are tears of pure relief. "You have done enough, you idiot," Ace whispers, holding Luffy tight against his chest as their blood mixes together. "Now it is my turn to save you." But remember, perfect victories do not exist in One Piece. Whitebeard knows his sons are safe and that the rubber boy is the future the world desperately needs. Laughing proudly with a hole in his chest, the Yonko stays behind. The strongest man in the world brutally sacrifices himself against the Marines and Blackbeard's crew to make sure all his sons escape. Ace survives, but the old man dies standing, keeping the heavy weight and devastating consequences of the war perfectly intact. The pirates escape in Law's submarine, leaving the world government and the Navy with a humiliation that will go down in history forever. A few days later on Amazon Lily, Luffy wakes up in the infirmary. memory, bandaged from head to toe. That is when Rayleigh shows up. The Dark King sits next to the kid's bed and says exactly what needs to be said, explaining the logic of their universe. The power you awakened is way too strong for your current body. If you use it again before you are ready, it will cost you your life. The only way to master it is by training the fundamentals of all 3 types of Haki, and we start today. Meanwhile, back in Mary Joie, at the center of the world, the door to Imu's chamber slowly opens. A Gorosei walks in, trembling with fear, to deliver 2 pieces of news that would shatter the world's balance and peace. First, Portgas D. Ace, the son of the Pirate King and bearer of the cursed bloodline, escaped alive. Second, and much more terrifying, Joy Boy's Haki is officially back in the world. On that day, Luffy did not just save his brother from execution. He sent a clear, loud, and deafening message that the man who is going to turn the world upside down has finally awakened. And guys, if you think that was insane, imagine what would happen if Luffy mastered Nika's Haki during the 2-year time skip with Rayleigh and showed up at Fishman Island with Joy Boy's full power. Let me know down in the comments if you want a part 2 of this video showing what that complete awakening would look like. And while you're at it, drop your ideas for future scripts. I'm going to wrap it up here. Thanks for watching till the end, and remember, I'm Shoyo, and I will see you next time.